how do we improve empathy for leaders? How does a leader effectively improve leadership skills through empathy? Empathy being the number one leadership skill, just to confuse you a little bit. So you've got the image in the background. Um, I know last year, still in a very, very early phase, I launched Empathy magazine. So kind of turning myself in to the empathy man. So I'm writing a book at the moment. I don't know when it's coming out, but um, it uses emotional intelligence. The theory of it is basically um, women might be better leaders than men on a scientific side using the practice of empathy because there's different emotions in the body um, coming from women um, that we can use and kind of grasp and create a better leadership practice in organizations. So I'm going to put this out onto a podcast as well. Why not? Um, Leadership is a very complex subject when we talk about human emotions because I write a lot about empathy, emotional intelligence, but the idea is that every single day our emotions change. So if I go to work one day and my boss is unhappy with me because they had a bad experience at home, um, that kind of plays down hard on their stress and anxiety. So therefore, if they explain the situation to me and they're upset and look at the image behind us, I then grab my manager and say, look, you know, I'm there for you. I'm not saying that's what we need to be doing in companies. Sometimes inappropriate for us to hug our colleagues. I don't think it is, to be honest. I think we need to be looking achieving hugging our managers and for them to show vulnerability because empathy is about you having empathy towards yourself first, your own feelings. Um, some call it self leadership. I just call it the ability to manage your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, which is my very broad definition of emotional intelligence. So, empathy can be, defined in a lot of ways. Some people say it's feeling what others feel. I was writing yesterday or looking at an article from CNN about um, cognitive empathy and effective. Is there a difference? Well, you could call empathy so many different types, and in my magazine recently, I've published some authors that have done some fantastic independent, what you call subjective analysis on empathy. Um, so I encourage you to subscribe. I'll put a link upstairs. I'm really trying to promote it heavy because we need more empathy in the world. But when you come down to each individual trying to identify and make a definition to their own conscious self about what empathy is for them, because you can go into a classroom and you might say, okay, right, everybody write down your own definition about empathy, which sometimes I've done before, being a former teacher, not with empathy, but with different business topics. And we're all going to come up with different reasons why definitions, what we think empathy is. And I've polled this several times. What is empathy? Some say it's compassionate. Sometimes people say it's just feeling what others feel. There are so many vast and broad definitions out there. And I think what I'm learning in my independent research, it's more about what you feel as you matter in your own life, in your conscious self, and the way that you think, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, the management process of that. It's all down to you. It's you can't control what actually happens to you to a certain degree. Somebody might be rude to you. It's how you respond and use your self-awareness ability and to be empathetic towards your own feelings first, and then you can grow in your emotional intelligence. So it can be quite complex. If I could give you a simple way that leaders, I think, can improve empathy, which is really my main point here in this video, is to be more kinder to your own vulnerabilities and don't be scared to allow to show your team that I'm upset. And then the image behind us you might get into a situation where you get a hug from a fellow colleague. Is that a bad thing? Um, I certainly don't think it is, and I think that it's a lot more better going down that pathway than it is to practice toxic leadership, which is, it's got a bad name. I don't think it's well understood, even though researchers are going down an artistic towards paper to what it can trigger, but we're not looking at it I think, in a more positive way about, okay, they're going through toxic leadership, they're practicing that at the moment. What's the reason? What's their mental health state? Has something happened to them at home? Until we start asking those questions and being more, it increases leader. Some say it's more a servant leadership practice because you need a lot of empathy to be a servant leader. And academics will argue lots of different domains about servant leadership. But when we talk about empathy, the art of feeling what others are going through, I think it's got a strong place in the leadership development triangle. Um, and I would love to see more courses and curriculums built into education, which we're just way off at the moment in terms of any real emotional intelligence skills being bolted down into education. So this video is trying to promote empathy in the workplace, empathy in action. Empathy does matter, and I think no matter where you are in this world, you're going to go through bad times. And I think that as humans, we don't always say the right thing, but when we practice it and start thinking about the conscious thoughts around being kinder to others and feeling what they're going through and being empathetic, and then because of that process, we're growing in leadership ourselves through each life experience, even when we've gone something through bad. We try to be more kinder to ourselves because we think had a bad year last year. It's still early in January 2023. A lot of you are still doing your New Year's resolutions, and that's great. But the real learning, I think, begins with the mistakes that we make, the experiences that we have, and some of the interactions that we feel, both good and bad, at work and at home. And then sitting down maybe in the evening and doing a reflection about why did I feel that way? Why am I feeling this way? Until we get to a state where we're all constantly trying to work towards knowing who we are and respecting ourselves and showing empathy towards our feelings. It's okay to be upset. Somebody was rude to you today at the office. You might even cry about it. That's all right. We have to feel emotions more so. And I've been through traumatic events in my life, and sadly, I had another seizure recently. Not had a seizure in a while, but didn't see it coming. I thought I was okay, but I realise now, on reflection, that some of the trigger points, I was overworking, being true to myself, wasn't being kind. Didn't really have empathy towards my own conscious self feelings of slow down, Steve, come on, you don't have to do everything, you have to do it well. So I hope this video is fruitful for you. And this is on the Emotional Intelligence podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope that you can, share it out to somebody that might need a little bit of empathy, or leaders that are really and CEOs that are struggling to understand what empathy really is, because it has got a lot of different definitions. And until you start reading quite in depth into the subject, you'll probably find that it's so split in between what people think about empathy and the broader term of emotional intelligence, because I see dozens and dozens of articles. I've written dozens myself about emotional intelligence and empathy. And we can't all agree what empathy really is because we're all living different lives. And I think that's the most important thing. Through lived experience, we get better at empathy. And then the image behind us, again, I refer to it. It's quite important that we dive into feeling what others feel, if that's your definition. Not overloading that behavior, but just trying to get to ourselves where we're saying, you know what, I really do enjoy working with that person. Sometimes they're difficult, but I want to learn from that person. So show up with empathy will improve your leadership performance, but also I think it allows us to learn more about ourselves as a human. And there are so many different pathways to that. So I'm hoping that this does make sense. So these are my own real individual uh, thoughts, feelings, and behaviours narrowed down into a framework that you might want to use to improve leadership training in your company or in your own personal development, journey, or what we call your PDP, your personal development plan. Okay, your career management plan. Um, we need more empathy in the world, and that's really why I'm trying to promote the science of empathy and emotional intelligence, a broader subject based, loosely, well, an extension or sideline of Daniel Goleman's work, as well as many other leading researchers around the world, including myself. But I'm a humble man. I'm still learning. The more I learn about my own conscious feelings and unconscious feelings, and then try to look at what others are doing in their lives. I think that can help a lot of people. And if I can put it into a framework and share that through content, which is one of these, hence this video and podcast, I think I can at least contribute a little bit more to mental well-being and try to improve people's lives so that we don't fall into the brackets of going into depression because we're not using empathy enough. For instance, okay, so I'm going to end it now. Thank you for watching. It's the first episode of this podcast in 2023, but also my first video I'm gonna throw up onto the YouTube channel. It's a very humble channel. Um, I'm overloading myself as usual, but this is probably my 21st piece of content I put out today. Um, but I'm enjoying it because I'm learning more, and I think even though I've had a seizure recently, I feel in a relaxed state because the reset button, which you do get when you have an epileptic attack or non-epileptic attack seizure, is that slow down more, be real to yourself, and find out who you really want to help, as well as being true to your own feelings. And I'm doing that right now by making this video. So I'm Stephen Fahey, the founder of the Empathy magazine. If you want to subscribe or to this channel, great. It's on YouTube. If you listen to this on Spotify, thanks for listening. But if you want to write an article about empathy, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to the newsletter first. It's just a one daily release of an article that either someone else writes that I allow or myself. Um, and we'll see where we can go with empathy and action, as they call it, under the umbrella of emotional intelligence. Thank you for watching. Wherever you are in the world, and take care. And most importantly, look after your mental well-being. Thank you. Bye for now.